Would you like to become a better speaker as a leader? This is a topic that I receive a lot of interest in, especially with my target audience of women in leadership, which is the clients that I work with. Now, I will say, on my YouTube channel, I have women in leadership and men in leadership, and the information I'm going to share with you in this video will apply to you regardless of what gender you are. Because if you're watching this video, I know you want to be that person that stands out from everybody else, and I'm going to give you over 20 years worth of insights that can help you from my experience as a public speaker and as a C-suite executive and as a director, so that you can fast track yourself to be a better speaker as a leader. So if this topic sounds of interest to you, just a little bit, like you can be a better speaker and a better communicator, but you just need some help in terms of how to do it, this is the best place for you to be today, right now. So if you are watching this video, I'm going to go over 3 P's. There are 3 P's that will help you to become a better speaker. And if you have some questions as it relates to being a better speaker as a leader, then put them in the comments below. If you're watching this portion of the video, you are more than likely watching the replay. And thank you so much for spending time with me today. I'm glad you're here. There is typically a portion of the video that YouTube pushes out to the audience that are watching. And I'll have some people that are joining live, so just bear with me because this is a live video right now. And in the live video, I'm going to say hello to them and greet them. So just give me just a few moments before I dive into the 3 P's to help you become a better speaker as a leader. If you're trying to go to that next level in your career, you absolutely want to watch this video until the end, because you want to really start to implement these 3 P's into your everyday plan and strategy as you're trying to elevate yourself as a communicator. I say on my channel all the time, people become great by how they communicate. And so if I can help you unlock the greatness in you, I know that you're going to stand out from everybody else as a leader, and you're going to be placed in a position where you will be able to showcase your expertise and impact the entire world. So my target audience that I work with specifically as it relates to coaching and services and etc. are women in leadership. However, on my channel and on this channel specifically and on other platforms, I have a lot of men in leadership also. So I appreciate you all for being here regardless of what gender you are, because I know if you are watching this video, you are passionate about becoming a better speaker as a leader. And I want to say hello, welcome to all of you who have joined. Please let me know where you are joining from in this big, beautiful world today. And let me know, what are some challenges? What are you struggling with right now as a leader when you are speaking in front of a group of people? Are you nervous? Are you afraid? Let me know in the comments below. I'm going to actually do a poll to see what your thoughts are, so I can get some insight in terms of how we can structure this live to help you go to that next level. Now, I do want to say, as I mentioned at the very beginning, there are 3 P's. So before I do that, let me see what's going on in the chat. Hello, Anthony Morales. Hi, how are you doing today? Welcome. Feel free to let me know what part of this big, beautiful world you are joining from today, and what questions do you have about becoming a better speaker as a leader. I'm going to put a poll on here in just a few moments. But Anthony, glad you're here today. Let me know what questions you have. I know if you're clicking on this title, you absolutely want to become a better speaker, and I'm here to help you. I'm going to give you 3 P's today. Learn from my over 20 years of experience as a C-suite executive, as a director, as a public speaker, and an executive coach to help fast track how you are speaking in public so that you stand out from everybody else. Anwar Sadiq, hello, welcome. Glad you're here today. Feel free to ask me any questions and let me know where you all are joining from this big, beautiful world today. Let me know. So while we're waiting for some other individuals to comment and respond, I know we have a few people watching right now, so I'm glad you all are here today. Let me ask you all a question. Now, this is a poll. Let me ask you a question about speaking in public. And give me just a moment. I'm typing the question on here right now. Okay, so I want you all to let me know, what are you worried about? And let me know your responses. Give me just a moment. Thank you for your patience. It takes a second because I actually have to type these poll responses on here for you to respond to. So let's see what else we're going to put on here. So, what are you worried about when speaking as a leader? Let's see if it will let me put an option here. One more option on here for you all to vote for. Okay. And okay. So I'm going to start the poll. I believe I can change the color on here. Let's see. Let's leave it as what it is. All right. So let me know if you all see this poll. Okay. Vote on it, please. Let me know what you are worried about when you're speaking as leader. So for those of you who are just joined, let me say hello to everybody and feel free to vote. For those of you who are live, you can see this, but if you're watching the replay, you cannot. So I'm going to absolutely be able to read this off to you, but I want to say hello to those who have joined. All right, Baby and Nana Cooking. Hello, hello, welcome, welcome. Anthony Morales gave a thumbs up. And be back in 2026 YT. Hola, ¿cómo estás? All right, so Baby and Nana Cooking, can you be my friend? Sure. Join, subscribe to my channel, and you'll get to learn a lot about me, and hopefully I'll get to learn about you. And Be Back in 2026 YT says hi, and also says, I like your videos. Well, thank you. I appreciate you. I'm glad that you like the videos. I hope it's helpful for you. Feel free to subscribe. This is what I talk about, trying to help you elevate yourself as a leader and really go to that next level in your career so that you stand out from everybody else. So for those of you who are joining live, thank you so much for responding on the poll. I really appreciate that. And so what I'm going to do is leave the poll up for a little bit, but read out to the individuals who are perhaps going to watch the replay so they can see what, or have an idea as to what we're talking about. So for those of you who are watching right now, it says, what are you worried about when speaking as a leader? The options are the following. So if you're watching the replay, put it in the comments below. But I'll tell you what we voted on so far. What people think is a big one. 43% of you have said what people think is something that you are worried about when you're speaking as leader. So let's talk about that. The second is being nervous. That's 29%. Being nervous happens all of the time. And this is something we'll talk about a little bit as well. Talking too fast. 29% of you said talking too fast is something you're worried about when you are speaking as leader. And the final response that has not received any votes just yet is rambling. Rambling is something that happens sometimes when we are speaking as leader, but it has not been voted on just yet. So what I want to do is go back into the chat, and then I'll go back into the 3 P's you need to do, and let's dive into what other people think and being nervous and talking too fast. Okay, so let's see what we have. Baby and Nana Cooking, what is your name? My name is Dr. Jacinta. I hope you are doing fantastic well. I appreciate you being here today. Anthony Morales says, I already answered. Smiley face. Thank you so much for smiling. Anthony Morales says, I'm in number 3 now. So number 3 is talking too fast. And Anthony Morales says, me. Okay, awesome. Very good. Anthony Morales says, yeah. And I did say my name. So we have that all cleared out. Okay, fantastic. So I'm going to leave the poll up for those individuals that are joining right now. I believe you can see my face as normal. Sometimes what happens with the polls, for me on my end, it's directly in front of my face, so I can't even see my face. But on your end, you probably can actually see it. You probably can't even see it. All right, so Anwar Sadiq, there's something that you said. I don't know what it means specifically, but I appreciate you being here. So let me go into the 3 P's and let's talk about this poll that you all voted on. So there's 3 P's to speaking better as a leader. Are you ready? The first P is you have to practice. So many times people really struggle with practicing when they're trying to speak. Okay, so, all right, hold on just 1 second. Anthony Morales says, I can't see like half of your face. Okay, so thank you, Anthony. I appreciate that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this down and let me end the poll, and then it will hopefully bring up a summary of it in the chat. So We have that now, and actually the what people think has increased to 42%. So Anthony, thank you so much. I'm testing out a couple things that are present in terms of how to engage with the audience, especially during my live stream. So I appreciate you mentioning that, because sometimes you can't really tell on my end. So we'll go back into it now that you all can see my face again. So there's a couple things I want you to keep in mind when you are trying to become a better speaker as a leader. The first is you want to practice. Practice, practice, practice. Many times people become very, very worried about what other people think. And I will tell you a secret. If you are speaking in front of a group of people, you are already positioning yourself as a leader and someone who is setting themselves apart from everybody else. You may be wondering, well, I'm just so worried about what people think. How is this even possible? Believe it or not, people are terrified of public speaking. Let me know in the comments below, are you worried about public speaking? There's a lot of people that are completely terrified about it. And the reason they are terrified about it is because of what you all voted on, and that is what people think. Sometimes we just internalize what people are thinking. And to be honest with you, a lot of times people are not as concerned about what you're saying. They're just amazed that you're actually speaking in front of a group of people. So I'm sharing this with you because I've been a public speaker for over 20 years now, and I want to let you know that sometimes we are in our own heads, especially as it relates to what other people think. They may not be thinking what you are thinking. They're in their mind, they're saying, wow, let's say Anthony Morales is speaking in front of a group of people today. Wow, that's great. I couldn't do it. I couldn't speak in front of a group of people. And so you may be speaking in front of a group of people wondering, like, oh my goodness, what are they thinking? And they may be thinking, wow, I can't believe that Baby and Nana Cooking is speaking in front of a group of people, or Anwar is speaking in front of a group of people. They may be thinking that. So sometimes you may be putting extra pressure on yourself unnecessarily, because many people, they wouldn't even want to speak in front of a group of people. They wouldn't want to do it because they're afraid to do so. So you might want to be able to think about things a bit differently as it relates to speaking. So practice, practice. You want to put yourself out in those visible environments where you can speak in front of people. Why? Because the more that you practice, the more you start to learn yourself. Now, if you are trying to really elevate how you're communicating, then reach out to me for a strategy session. The description is in the actual link is in the description below. And we can have a brief call where we just talk about how you are communicating as a leader, what you can do to speak better as a leader, whether you are in a role with an organization, or perhaps you are an entrepreneur and you have your own business like myself, and you're trying to be able to speak in front of more people. So you definitely want to be able to practice, and don't be afraid. What you say may not come out the way you want it to, but that's why practice, 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 practice speaking in front of groups. Even if you want to start with a small group to start. So if you want to start with a very small group, maybe a group of 3 or 4 people, then that's a good place for you to start. Before I go into practicing more, let me say hello to Free Shalep. If I said that incorrectly, I'm sorry about that, but I'm glad you're here and I appreciate the thumbs up. So let me know if you have any questions specifically as it relates to how to become a better speaker. I'm here to support you on your journey. Any questions, lean on my over 20 years of experience of being a public speaker. I will help you. Let me know what you need. All right, so next comment I have on here before I go into that, and I appreciate the heart and the smiley emojis. Thank you so much, leaders. I appreciate that. Sanelli Maluka, hello, welcome back, friend. Hope you're doing well. I know it's early in South Africa right now, so I appreciate you being here. So Sanelli Maluka says, leaders are born, not created. Is this true? No. Leaders are not born. They are created. So leadership, some people, I will say this. Some people have a natural tendency to just step up and be leaders. They do, but there are many people that are not at that point, and they are developed into leaders. So Sanelli, and I please let me know if I'm saying your name correctly. I know Maluka is probably right, but I just want to make sure I'm saying it correct. So leaders are created. And so I will say that the statement, and you put it in quotation because people say it often, it's not true. There are born leaders, yes, but there are many people that are created into leaders. And let me share with you how they are created into leaders. Many times what happens is situations. This is what makes you become a leader. That's why sometimes if you hear leaders are born, not created, I don't agree with that. I completely don't agree with that, because you become a leader by the experiences and the environments that you have been in. And every one of you that are watching this live video, you all have been in very unique situations, and no one, and I mean this and I repeat this, no one has your unique experiences and expertise that you've had in your specific field or in your career. So consider yourself as a unique person and use those experiences that you've had to help be able to leverage yourself and develop yourself into being a leader. I hope that answers your question, because I believe leaders are created. They are developed by their experiences that they have. That has been what I have seen over the past 20 years, especially in my leadership roles as a C-suite executive, a manager, director. I didn't just wake up one day and say, hey, I'm going to be a leader, everybody. And I'm a leader. I didn't. But there's been environments that I've been in that have allowed me to start becoming a leader. Now, I'll share with you a bit personally about me in terms of leadership. I've been in leadership roles over the years, and I started my leadership journey when I was a bit younger. So I'll talk to you more about that. If you want to know more about it, just put it in the comments below. But I want to make sure I keep everything focused to help you all be able to go to that next level. Okay, so we have Free Shalep. If she's busy and isn't able to talk, just wait. So there's a question about how old are you? I'm old enough. That's a question. I'm old enough to be able to tell you that I've been in leadership roles for over 20 years. So if I'm in leadership roles, senior leadership roles for over 20 years, I'm older, that's for sure. So I hope that answers the question somewhat. You don't have to necessarily give your age out there, but I'm old enough. I'm old enough to be able to provide you with some insights that will help you to stand out amongst your peers and other leaders that you are interacting with. All right, so we have Free Shalep says, don't spam. And Free Shalep says, please and thank you. So I appreciate that, Free Shalep, and appreciate your salute there too. I appreciate that, because sometimes on YouTube, and this happens often, and I really appreciate Baby Nana and Cooking for being here. Thank you for being here. But sometimes we all get excited and you're trying to communicate, and I want to make sure I'm answering your questions as best I can. I just want to make sure I keep it really focused, because I know time is very, very precious. There's many other places you all could be at today. If you're watching the live, if you're watching the replay, and I am just honored that you're spending some time with me today to learn about how to communicate better as a leader in terms of speaking. And so I want to make sure I keep it as focused as I can. There's always a point in the lives where we somewhat digress. We talk about other things. For instance, yesterday we were talking about exotic cars and supercars. We talked about Aston Martins and Lamborghinis and Ferraris and Porsches and other things. That happens in lives. It's just during the initial part, I really want to make sure I get the information out there to help you all. So I appreciate that. All right, so Free Shalep gives a thumbs up. Baby Nana and Cooking gives a wave. I appreciate that. All right, and said Sanelli Maluka says, well said, I got it, thanks. Absolutely, you're so very welcome. Let me know if you have any other questions. I'm here to really support you, especially in terms of speaking as a leader. So we talked a bit about practicing. You have to practice, even if you're in small groups. Start small first. There's a lot of things you can do when you're speaking in front of a group, but today I want to give you these very overall strategies that you can actually start doing today. Find a small group of people. Maybe you're in the church, maybe you're in an organization, maybe you're in your business. Find at least one or two people you can speak with and just start practicing. Talking to them about a specific topic or initiative or a project. You just have to get out there and start speaking. That is the most important thing you need to do. It's similar to YouTube. If you have a YouTube channel, what do they say? Just record. You have to get on the video. You need to record if you want to try to practice. And the more that you practice speaking in front of a group of people, the group will start to get bigger. So maybe you start with a small group and then you say, okay, I'm comfortable speaking to about 3 or 4 people. Then the group gets bigger. And you say, oh, okay, I'm comfortable speaking in front of a group of 10. Then it gets bigger. You may say, I'm comfortable speaking in front of a group of 50 people. And then it grows from there. And so once you are able to become more comfortable and you practice, this is one of the very first P's that I mentioned to you in terms of how to become a better speaker as a leader. Now, the second P I want to share with you all is perfect. So once you start to become more comfortable speaking in front of a group of people, you want to start to elevate your skills, which is why if you have not subscribed to this channel, what are you waiting for? You should absolutely subscribe because you will perfect your speaking skills here, specifically on this channel. There's a lot of channels here on YouTube that talk about communication and leadership and etc. But specifically here, I talk about actual real scenarios that will help you in those very friendly situations that come up and those very contentious situations that come up as well. Because as speakers, you're visible, you're in front of people all of the time. And so there may be times where you have wonderful things that happen, and there may be times that are a bit more challenging. I am known for dealing with the hard things. So if you've had a hard situation, challenging situation happen, then you absolutely want to reach out to me. I will help you and help you develop a strategy in terms of how you want to communicate it. So being able to perfect your speaking skills is really important. This is something that you absolutely want to do here on this channel. But how do you perfect your speaking skills? Well, one, a great rule of thumb that I do for my clients, and I do this in a one-on-one setting. So if you're wanting some support in terms of how to communicate as a speaker and speak better as a leader, is I ask my clients to record themselves. So sometimes when we are speaking in front of a group of people, we're just speaking. But if you take a few moments to record yourself when you are speaking, if it's to a group of individuals or etc., then if you play the video back, you will actually learn a lot about yourselves. You will learn how you're speaking. What are some of those mannerisms or body language or gestures that you do subconsciously? So for instance, some of my clients subconsciously will twirl their hair, or subconsciously they start to clasp their hands because they're nervous, or they may start to speak really, really fast, like we talked about earlier, which is one of the reasons that people are worried about speaking in public and why they're worried about speaking as a leader. So if you record yourself, it gives you the opportunity to learn more about you and how you are being perceived as a leader when you're speaking in front of a group of people. This is the perfecting stage. This is not practice. You're still practicing, of course, but perfecting means that you are going to look at yourself and see, how can I be a better leader? How can I speak better in front of a group of people? So recording yourself is something that you can simply do today. As I mentioned in the beginning, I'm going to give you actionable strategies that you can do today. This is what you can do to help you speak at a better level, at a higher level than your peers, which is what I specialize in. So perfecting your speech, record yourself, number one. Number two, a way to perfect your speech outside of watching and following my channel, but I do have a lot of videos here that talk specifically about some of those specific areas of speaking that people really are uncomfortable with. Eye contact is one, pausing is another one, and controlling your facial expressions is another one. So if you're really trying to perfect how you are speaking, you definitely want to try to control those and gain more insight into those specific type of communication styles. There's several videos here on my channel. Just look for videos that talk about cowboy. If you've watched any of my videos, you know I'm very passionate about the cowboy analogy as it relates to eye contact. So you definitely want to look into those videos. This is something that I'm not going to go into in detail now because this is an overview, but I talk about eye contact in several videos. Tone of voice is something that you want to try to do if you're trying to perfect how you are speaking as a leader. Your body language and controlling your facial expressions. If you check out my lives, that's where most of my videos are. This is where you will learn a lot of information in terms of how to perfect, meaning you're going to that next level in terms of how you are speaking as a leader. So before I go into the third P, I want to share with you what's in the chat. So Baby and Nana Cooking says, hi, I'm back. Welcome back. Glad you are back. And Sanelli Maluka says, perfection and practice. For example, I could easily recite a poem, but it will be hard to present a speech or motivate a group of people. Well, Sanelli, and let me know if I'm saying your name correctly, because I know you subscribed recently, so I want to make sure I'm pronouncing your name phonetically correctly. So that's a really good point. And I would say before we go into the third P, let's talk about what you said, because it's a really good insight for us to talk about. So for instance, what Sanelli is saying is that she can recite a poem, but it's hard to present a speech and motivate a group of people. So let's dive into that. If it's easy to recite a poem, that's great. The difference is when you're presenting in front of a group of people, my first question to you as an executive coach would be, why do you feel like it's hard to present in front of a group of people or present a speech? The reason why, and let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are, Sanelli, but the reason why people have a hard time with a speech and giving a speech or delivering a speech is because they categorize it as a speech. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but hang in there with me. Let me explain to you why. When you are speaking in front of a group of people, whether you are in front of an audience or you are in an interview or you are talking to a board member or you're talking to your business associates or you're talking to students or you're talking to classmates or colleagues, if you can wrap your mind around this concept, when you're speaking in front of a group of people, it should feel like a conversation. It shouldn't necessarily feel like a speech. And let me share with you why this is one of the most important public speaking strategies that you can have out there. And I'm sharing with you, this is something I talk about with my one-on-one clients, but I'm sharing it with my YouTube audience because I want you all to grow. So if you can make your speeches, right, like conversations, one, it feels more comfortable to you. And so you don't feel like you're having to just present a speech, because sometimes when people are speaking or presenting a speech, they feel like they have to memorize it, they have to rehearse it, they have to read every single line, every single word, every single exclamation mark. They feel like they just have to read off of a paper. That's what happens when people are presenting and they are starting out on the journey. If you're watching this video and subscribe to my channel, you know that I'm elevating you. I want you to speak at that higher level than your peers. So when you speak, people want to listen and you motivate them. So if you can make your speeches like conversations, it feels more of a conversation to you and it feels more like a conversation to the people you're talking about, and they don't feel like you are doing a speech. They feel like, wow, she's doing a speech, but it sounded so great. It was so motivating. Why? Because of what you are doing. So you can do a poem, but if you try to change your mindset as it relates to the speech in terms of how you present it, make it like a conversation. So you may be wondering, well, how do I do that? There is a video that I'm actually going to record. I didn't do it this week, but Sanelli, I'm going to make sure I do this video. I haven't decided if I'm going to do it as a live or as a pre-recorded video because it is going to be very, very, very insightful. But I want to share this with you because this might be something for you to watch out for on my channel, depending on what format I send it in. So I actually had the opportunity to be in a meeting. And this is the first time in my life as a public speaker that I've been in this setting ever. And I don't want to go into the details of it, but I was in a group of people, and we were listening to two different people give basically the same information. Same topic, same information verbatim. And I was in group A. And so we had to switch and go into the other room with the other person. And believe it or not, even though the two speakers, speaker A, speaker B, were saying basically the same information, one speaker received a clap at the end of their presentation and the other one did not. And so you might be wondering, well, how? And the reason I want to record this is because it impacts a bit about presentation skills. It depends on how you present it. That's what really matters. What you say is important, but how you say it is just as important as it is in terms of how you're speaking. So I mention this because when we talk about motivating people, Sanelli, it comes down to, can you get your audience to applaud, right? Can they applaud after you speak? Can your speech, can your presentation be so engaging that they can't help but feel like they just watched a video or watched a performance and they're just like, oh, wow, Sanelli is awesome. I want to watch more of Sanelli. So this is why if you make your presentations, your speeches like a conversation, people feel more engaged with what you are saying instead of feeling like they are watching you present a speech and reading it verbatim. So I hope that gives you some insight in terms of how to think things a bit differently, Sanelli, as it relates to being able to recite a poem, because you're reciting the poem, and most of the time if you're reciting a poem, there is some emotional, some sentimental aspect of the poem that really resonates for you. So use that same energy that you have and put that out there to the world when you are presenting a speech or motivating a group of people. It will help you if you just remember, make your presentation like a conversation. It will help to engage your audience. And this, even though this wasn't necessarily what I was going to say specifically for this topic, but this is how you can become a better speaker as a leader. Because if you can engage your audience, they will want to listen to you. I hope that's helpful. Let me know if you have any other questions, Cinelli, but that is a fantastic question and a great lead in to our third and final P for this particular video. Okay, Free Shalep says, I'm back. Hello. Well, welcome back. I'm glad you are back. And IXO Multic, welcome back, friend. How you doing today? Hope you are doing well. Had some really great dialogues with IXO Multic in a couple lives before. So welcome back, friend. Glad you're here. All right, Sanelli Maluka says, yeah, it helped. I will definitely take this direction, and how much impact it will play, hopefully. It will. Just remember, think about your poems, because it sounds like poetry is something I'm assuming that you're very passionate about, because you mentioned that you can recite a poem quickly. But presenting a speech, motivating people is hard. So think about what it is that you want to talk about, and just make it something that is truly authentic and meaningful for you. That is number one. Many times people ask me, well, how can I be very charismatic, or how can I present that high level of energy when I'm presenting as a leader or speaking as a leader in front of a group of people? Well, first you have to think about what it is that you're talking about. Are you talking about something that you really care about? Or are you talking about something you could care less about? That plays a big factor into how your audience is going to perceive and feel that energy. If I'm talking about, let's say, a topic that maybe is not entirely something I want to talk about. If someone asks me a question about math, and maybe math is not my topic that I want to talk about. Well, I can talk about math. I'll talk about it, but you may not feel that energy as if I'm talking about speaking in public, helping leaders elevate their communication skills. You're going to feel a lot more of a passion from me and my energy in those topics, because I want to talk about it. So think about the next time you have to do a speech or a presentation, what it is specifically that is really important to you that you want to share with the audience. And sometimes you may have to narrow it down to one topic or one concept, because what I find that happens a lot of times with individuals that are trying to elevate themselves as speakers is that they try to cram everything into a speech. They cram everything in. They want to talk about this. They want to talk about that. It's like you're cooking. Like you're just putting a bunch of things in the pot. And you're just like, I got to talk about everything. I got to talk about it all. But you don't need to. If you can narrow it down to maybe just one main key concept, then it may make it easier for you to talk about your speech or presentation in the form of a conversation. Because what I see that happens a lot of times when people are just starting out on their speaking journey is that they do the cooking method. They just throw everything in there. Oh, I got to talk about all this in my speech. I got to talk about everything and this and that. Why do I say this? Because I've done it. I did it when I first started out as a public speaker also. So I'm telling you this from experience, but I see this with a lot of my one-on-one clients that I work with specifically in a coaching setting. So if you condense it and you make it to where you have one main topic that you're focusing in on, then you can just have a conversation around that one topic instead of feeling like you have to talk about all these multiple aspects of a speech, which when you do that, sometimes it comes across as you doing a speech, but it's very rehearsed, and then your audience doesn't feel as motivated because they don't feel like you're talking to them like you're having a conversation. So it will help you. And if you need some one-on-one support, you're welcome to reach out to me for a strategy session in the description below. We can have a conversation about where you are and where you're trying to be. All right, so IXO Multic says, thank you. You are so very welcome. Glad you were here. Welcome back. So let me know in the comments below, what are some things you're struggling with as you are speaking in front of a group of people? What do you worry about? For those of you who have just joined, let me go back into the comments. So let me share with you all what we were just talking about before I go into the third and final P in terms of becoming a better speaker. So for those of you who are just joined, we did a poll earlier in the live. And so the poll specifically asked, what are you worried about when speaking as a leader? And the responses were as follows. What people think received 42% of the votes. Being nervous received 28% of the votes. Talking too fast received 28% of the votes. And rambling received 0% of the votes. So if you are anywhere in those categories, just put it in the comments below if you are watching live now. Or if you are watching the replay, feel free to let me know, what are you worried about when you are speaking in public as a leader? So the third and final P I want to mention to you is to plan ahead. So before I go into planning ahead, Sanelli Maluka says, cool, thumbs up. You're very welcome. Hopefully that helps you. So planning ahead when you are trying to speak and become a better speaker as a leader is very important. Planning ahead is something that we're talking about a little bit with Sanelli. So when we're planning ahead, you do want to think about what it is that you're talking about. What are some conversations that you plan on having around this topic to make your presentation feel like a conversation? What is it specifically that you might want to say? Taking it to the next level, and this goes a bit more back into perfecting in terms of the second P I mentioned to you, is what objections do you feel like you may have, or what questions do you think people may ask you as it relates to this specific topic? What are they? What are some of the questions that you anticipate people asking? So if you have a certain level of expertise about a specific topic, there may be questions that people have. So for instance, for Sanelli, there may be people that say, well, how can you find a poet that you like or that you really resonate with? People may ask you that, Sanelli. They may ask you, how do you find these poems that you're able to recite so easily? Or they may ask you, how do you recite them so easily? How do you do that? How do you do this? So you may want to just prepare in your mind, but to know specifically about these type of questions that come up, because they may come up quite a bit. So just prepare yourself in advance. Another thing you want to do in terms of planning ahead, and this is more of an advanced level, you have to plan for your objections. If you've been in leadership roles or senior leadership roles like myself, you have to be prepared for what are some positive things that could come out of this conversation or this presentation or discussion you're having, and what are some things that you are going to be anticipating that people may give you a hard time about. This is just a part of being a leader and being at that higher level. So you need to think about, what are the objections that may come up? What are the talking points that I'm mentioning that someone may have a question about or may have a rebuttal about? You have to plan for those in advance. And even if you don't have to use any of them, maybe you don't have to use any, at least the fact that you have some in your mind, you're prepared. So when you go into these meetings, instead of worrying about the number one reason why people were worried about when they're speaking in public is what other people think, you're not so much concerned about that because you have a pretty good knowledge base and you know exactly what you're talking about, and you even know how to address objections. Now, if you want to go to a higher level in terms of addressing objections in public, I can absolutely help you with that. Let me know in the comments below if it's a topic that you want to learn more about, because I will do a video just for you and give you a shout out about how to deal with objections in public. I've dealt with many of them, and so I've been in those very contentious conversations where you have to address the objection, but address it in such a way to where it still showcases your expertise but addresses the question. There's several videos on my channel that talk specifically about handling difficult conversations and communicating under pressure, handling your emotions under pressure. So if this is a topic that you want to learn a bit more about, this is absolutely where you want to check out my lives. I have a lot of good information in my lives about handling those very challenging situations that come up, and this is why you need to plan ahead. So I'm helping you to not only plan ahead for the basic questions, but I want you to plan ahead for any objections people may have also. So let me go to the chat. IXL Multic says, as I told you last time, I feel like I'm more of a follower than a leader, but I love your space in which you talk about leadership, and specifically that one focused on women, but above all, I love seeing you. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And absolutely. And everybody, in order to be a follower, you have to be a leader, because sometimes the followers are the people that, believe it or not, IXL Multic, you are probably leading somebody else and you don't even know it. So sometimes we have that distinction often. followers and leaders, but technically you're probably leading somebody else and you may not recognize it. So keep that in mind. And especially based off of the conversation we had before, I know you feel like you're more of a follower than a leader, but honestly, you had some really very good leadership conversations we've had before. So that I know that's how you feel. I would, in my very humble opinion, I would say you're probably more on the leader side because of the conversations we've had in the past. And just keep that in mind. Everyone is a leader at some phase of their journey. And so even if you feel like you're a follower, there's someone that's following you. So just keep that in mind. So appreciate your comment and appreciate you being here, of course, as always. And if you have any other questions, feel free to let me know. And as you mentioned, yes, I do focus on women, but that's my client base who I specifically work with. But on my audience here, especially on YouTube, I have men in leadership like IXL Multic. I have a forensic accountant. I have Pro BTC. I have a lot of other men in leadership that engage on my channel because we're all here to learn as leaders. And regardless of if you're a male or a female, the information I'm sharing with you is intended to help you communicate at that higher level as a leader, regardless of your gender. And so that's the reason why I absolutely really love being here on YouTube, because it gives me the opportunity to interact with other people from other countries that are in different categories of their careers that we're all coming together to learn and understand how we can elevate ourselves as communicators. Because as I mentioned in many of my videos, people become great by how they communicate. And my role here is to unlock the greatness within you. Whether you're in my target that I work with or not, I want you to become that great speaker, because we need better communicators. We need better leaders in the world today. And I want to be just a part of your journey, regardless if you're a man or a woman in leadership. The goal is leadership. And most of you are already in that higher level of leadership category. And so that's why I'm here to support you, because a lot of times on YouTube, people don't talk about these type of things. They talk about leadership sometimes in a different type of way. You'll have people out there that talk about leadership sometimes in a very academic type of philosophical way, and there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely not. All of it comes together to help you to learn as much as you can. But I really do focus on those very real situations that happen that you will actually experience. And sometimes that gap is not being addressed on YouTube depending on the actual topic. So I appreciate you all for being here, and IXL Multic, appreciate you for being here as well. So we talked about 3 P's to become a better public speaker or a better speaker as a leader. The first P, for those of you who missed it, was to practice. So you have to just practice. Get in front of a small group of people. Public speaking means you are speaking in public. There is more than one person you're speaking to. So just practice in front of a small group of people if you're nervous or worried about what people are thinking. As I mentioned before, for those of you who have just joined in the latter part of the live, when you are speaking in front of a group of people, believe it or not, people are terrified of speaking in front of a group of people. And sometimes you may be in your own head because you may be worried about, oh, well, these people are worried about me. But they wish they could be like you. They wish that they could speak in front of a group of people like you are. So sometimes you may be worrying about what other people are thinking, and you may be just adding undue stress to yourself for no reason whatsoever. So the first P is you need to practice if you want to become a better speaker as a leader. The second P that I shared with you is to perfect how you are speaking. And so we talked a bit about perfecting. Perfecting means you are refining your skills. You are really getting to know how you communicate as a leader. I gave you a tip, a strategy that I share with my one-on-one clients that I actually do for them. They record videos of themselves speaking. I provide them feedback. And so record yourself. This is something you can do today. If you're really trying to be a better communicator and better speaker as a leader, then record yourself. See how you are communicating and how other people are seeing you when you are speaking to them. That's a great way to start perfecting your skills. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, subscribing to my channel. I talk about a lot more advanced, higher level communication skills and leadership skills here on the channel. And so if you're really trying to perfect your tone of voice, your eye contact, or your body language, your facial expressions, and how you are communicating overall, or your executive presence, then you absolutely want to join and subscribe to the channel. I talk about this information at length. There's a lot of lives that are here on my channel, If you go through my live, you'll gain a lot of insight and start developing those high-level skills to help you start perfecting how you are speaking as a leader. And the third and final P that I mentioned is to plan ahead. So planning ahead is very important. It's very, 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 very important for you to prepare for any questions that people may have about your topic, and to also ask and address any objections that may come up. Now, I want to do another poll here. I want to ask you all another question. And give me just a moment. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm doing a couple things to interact with the audience more that are features here on the live stream. So I want to make sure that I'm engaging with you all. So let me see. Give me just a moment. I'm typing them in. I have to literally type the responses in. Give me just a moment. Almost done. Thank you for your patience. Okay, so let me know what you all would like to learn more about. And this is just a poll. I'm going to start it for just a few moments, and I have to take it off because it covers up my face from what they tell me on the live stream. When I look at the video replay, it doesn't, but live stream it does. So while you all are voting, IXL Multic says, when I saw you for the first time, I remembered a fragment of Pablo Neruda's sonnet XI. Okay, awesome. So yes, and we were just actually, it's interesting you mentioned that. We were just talking about poems and things like that like a few moments ago. So let me know what you all are wanting to learn more about as a leader. Let me know in the comments below or vote on the poll. And if it's something else, let me know that too. I do want to mention a couple of things. I know my face is covered up, so I'll give it another few moments for you all to vote, and then I'll take it down. So if you are in any other countries and you want to learn how to communicate at that higher level than your peers, then let me know what world leaders or individuals that you would like for me to do a review or analysis on. What I will do for you, and I'm gonna go ahead and take this down. What I will do for you is I will take a look at a couple of videos of the leaders that inspire you or motivate you, and provide you with a summary in terms of what are the strategies and techniques that they actually use to motivate and inspire other people. So if you have any leaders in your countries, as long as there's a YouTube video of them somewhere, I'll be happy to review them just for you and to give you a shout out in the video as well, so that you can look at what they're doing and see, well, I like how this person really helps to uplift the audience or motivate the audience, but I just don't know what they do. Like, how do they do it? Well, that's why I am here with you, because I will share with you my over 20 years as a public speaker, and I will share you specifically and tell you exactly what they're doing to inspire and motivate an audience. So as we were talking about earlier with Sanelli Maluka, in terms of being able to motivate and inspire, kind of motivate people, this is a really great opportunity. I will do this for you as my members of my audience. I will definitely allocate time to review whatever leader that inspires you. If there is a YouTube video out there of them, please let me know what it is, or just let me know the leader's name, and I'll do some research on my own, and I'll do a pre-recorded video showing you this is what this particular person is doing and how they inspire people. Is it their tone of voice? Is it the way they communicate to other people? What is it specifically that they are doing to inspire other people? Now, I do want to just preface this by saying that I have a list of people already that I'm going to be working on, so it's going to be a little bit busy, but let me know what you all have and what you want to learn more about here very, very soon. There's a lot of topics that we've talked about on our live streams, and this is the opportunity. We're ending the live stream and we're finishing up, but we're not finishing up quite just yet, not yet. there's always a point in time in the live streams where the conversations go into a different direction. So this is a great opportunity. If you have a topic you want to talk about or something you want to ask a question and learn more about, let me know. I'll give you some examples of things we've talked about on our live streams before. And if you're watching the replay, feel free to put a question in the comments below. Outside of leadership, communication, public speaking, executive presence, and all the wonderful things I love about communicating at a higher level than your peers and helping you to fast track and stand out from everybody else, we have talked about Bitcoin. We have talked about generating additional streams of revenue. We've talked about diversifying your income. We have talked about exotic cars and supercars. We have talked about picking up kids. We've talked about bosses taking credit for your work. We've talked about people being upset at you. So there's a lot of different topics that we have talked about on the lives. And so this is a point in time where if you have a question or you want to talk about something that's maybe a bit off topic from the live, then let me know and we'll talk about it for a few moments. And then I am looking forward to interacting with you all next week. So IXL Multi says, Poeta are so leaders. Petrarca, I believe I said it correctly. Alighieri, Neruda, Woodsmith, Whitman, Wild, Leadership, and Art. Well, it's interesting. So IXL Multi, it's interesting you mentioned that. So Sanelli was talking about poems earlier. So it's actually really great. Hopefully the two of, maybe we have some dialogue between the two of you because you obviously both are very engaged, very interactive on the poem side. So let me know who are some of your favorite poets. That would be great. Who are some of your favorite poets? I know we talked about a few IXL Multi the last time we were live, but would be curious to know who Sanelli and yourself have as your favorite poets. That would be interesting for us to talk about on the lives. And so poets, IXL Multi says poets, I wanted to say. Absolutely. Yes, so who would be one of your favorite poets? And Sanelli, if you're still live, I know you're in South Africa and it's probably really early morning there. But let me know, who is your favorite poet? That's something that we can talk about that is a bit off, that is not necessarily on topic, but would like to know who your favorite poets are. So let me know. And a lot of times poets are leaders because they are the people, believe it or not, when you think about poets, depending on where you are, kind of where you're from, location-wise, poets are really those people, when you think about it, they are the individuals that are speaking about topics in a way that other people may not feel comfortable doing it. And they're expressing themselves in the form of a poem. So when you think about poets and etc., there's a lot of different poets out there that really are leaders. So I agree with IXL Multi 1,000% on that because they are the individuals that are the thought leaders. That's why they call people thought leaders. They are thinking about a topic or a strategy in different ways that other people may be a bit more hesitant to talk about, but they're expressing it through poems. Poems really will tell you a lot about a person. They tell you about a lot about a time period in history. They tell you a lot about what's going on in the culture. So it's very, very important to really acknowledge poets because they do have a lot that they offer to us as a culture. So you can look back at poets from many, many, many years ago and learn a lot about what was going on in the history or the culture at that particular time by what was being said. So that is definitely something that is not necessarily related to the topic in terms of being a speaker, but poets are leaders as well. And it's another way to communicate in the written format. So this is completely along the lines of the channel in terms of what I talk about. Written communication is something I've done a couple videos on, but it's something I'm going to do a lot more videos on because when you're trying to elevate yourselves to that next level, and I talk about this a lot more in The Real Executive Woman, my transformative leadership experience, but we also focus on executive communication and communicating at that higher level. And a lot of times that will come up from being able to communicate not only verbally, but non-verbally, and also in the written format. People really start to not recognize the importance of communicating in a written format as a leader and communicating at that higher level. Sometimes we try to focus all on the public speaking side. What am I saying? How am I saying it? How am I presenting myself? But we forget about we have to type or we have to write. And it is just as important of a way for you to communicate at a higher level than your peers than speaking. They're both equally important. So let's say Sanelli Maluka says, please, you can check up on a speaker from EFF Party, Naledi Chira. So I'm going to spell that because there's people that are watching the replay and they will not be able to see the comments. So what Sanelli is mentioning specifically is she says a speaker from the EFF Party. I'm not familiar with the party, so I will say that. But the speaker's name is NALEDICHIRWA. And see how she presents herself. Okay, fantastic. So let me take a screenshot of that. And sorry about that. I locked my phone by accident. Sorry about that. But Sanelli, I took a screenshot. So I appreciate you so much because I will do a video on Naledi. I hope I'm getting it correct. And see how she presents herself. So I will do that and I'll do a video for you. And if it's okay, Sanelli, I will give you a shout out in the video that you recommend this person and be able to showcase how she presents herself and maybe what are some of the things that she's doing to showcase herself as someone that stands out from everybody else. So I appreciate that. And I appreciate you so much. I will definitely take a look at some videos for her. I have a couple people on the list, so I'm going to add her to my list. And more than likely, those type of videos are going to be pre-recorded videos. And so when I start doing my pre-recorded videos, you'll see notifications because I know you're a subscriber. Just make sure you have the notifications icon listed. And I'll make sure I do a post about it and give you a shout out in the post and shout out in the video for giving me this person so that I can review them and provide some insight to everyone. And this is something that's not only going to help Sanelli, but it also helps everyone else that's following the channel because everyone that subscribed, they are, for the most part, really trying to elevate themselves. And that's who I work with, is the individuals who are trying to go to that next level in their careers. And so we all want to learn from other people, from other countries, so that we can see, well, what is it in common that we can start maybe adapting to our own communication styles and how we're communicating to people to make us stand out from everybody else. So thank you so much, Sanelli Maluka, for that. I appreciate it. And Sanelli Maluka says, when you have time, of course. Of course. No, this is what I do. This is why I'm here on this earth, is to help people communicate at a higher level. So this is something that I literally would do, all day if I could. If I could be on video all day and help you all and record videos and provide you with insights in terms of this is what this person is doing that makes them really stand out and how can you adapt that into your communication style? What can you maybe do when you're speaking to other people that are somewhat similar so that you can really stand out like everybody else and motivate them like we talked about earlier? I would literally do it all day. Like literally, that's what I would do all day if I had the time to do it. So I absolutely will make time for you and do that. It will be probably a little bit of time because I have a couple lists of people that I'm working on already. And so, but as soon as I do that, I will absolutely make sure I give you a shout out and a notification. So just keep an eye out on that. What I'll do for the review is I'll look at a couple of the videos and I'll look them up online and just see how the lady, let me know if I'm pronouncing that phonetically correct, but how she is presenting herself. And she more than likely, if you're showcasing how she presents herself, then she, I'm assuming, has some form of an executive presence. So I can pull that out and share that with the audience because executive presence is something that I talk about in detail extensively on my channel. And so there'll be some points that I can help point out to the individuals to show them. I did this similar last year when we had the presidential debate here in the US. And I looked at the debate. I pulled out a couple of talking points from each of the candidates as an unbiased view and just showed how they were doing things correctly as speakers and some aspects of their speech that they might want to improve upon to help be more engaging of the audience. So I did that, and so it'll be a similar type of format where I look at their videos and I'll play their videos and I'll showcase to you exactly what they're doing that is really making them to stand out as a leader. And so I appreciate you so much for sharing that. So let me know if y'all have any other topics you want to talk about, if y'all have any specific, maybe favorite poets that you want to put in the comments below. Let me know. This is a great opportunity for us to get to learn each other and learn about each other. I will say IXL Multic and Sanelli Maluka both have talked about poems on my channel. And so that's really exciting to see that there's some commonality in different countries as it relates to different types of poems and just the theme that poems are something that you all particularly like. So I appreciate you all for being here and providing just a different perspective in the written format in terms of how you can communicate and really express yourself in the way of poem. All right, so IXL Multic says, well, by language, Latin poets, their names would seem like tongue twisters for you. You left me impressed with everything you just said. Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Absolutely. And IXL Multic, if you have anybody that you are inspired by or that inspires you or motivates you, let me know. I will do a video just for you and take a look at what they're doing and what they're presenting and how they're saying it, and do a video for you, and just it'll help other people as well. So absolutely, I'm impressed by what you mentioned. Last time we had a really good discussion about poems and leadership and etc. before, so I just appreciate you being here. And yes, this is what I want to do. This is how I'm trying to help humanity and help people here on my channel and my audience as the channel starts to grow. This is what I'm here for. I want to do channel reviews on the leaders that inspire you, because a lot of times what I've found that happens often when we are in our leadership bubble and we are working on the day-to-day and we're really wanting to make a bigger impact on the world or in our communities, in our cities and etc., in our countries, we sometimes see people that are inspire you or motivate you, and you wonder like, wow, they're such a good speaker. How do they speak so well? I want to inspire people like that. And so what I've found is that many times people think of those individuals as just very, very high up there, and they have this knowledge base that's just way in the clouds that are so far up that we just can't reach it. We just can't reach it. Well, what I want to do is show you what they're doing and reach it and bring it down here to you via video and showcase to you what they are doing so that you can be that very inspirational leader, motivator, and etc. as well. And so sometimes you just don't know what to do unless someone shows you what they're doing. And so that's what I want to do, is be the mediator and show you exactly this is what Naledi is doing, or this is what Michelle Obama is doing, or this is what another person is doing. Those are a couple of names I have so far that people have asked me to do reviews on. So this is what I want to do for you, is just bring these maybe very high level abstract communicators and bring it down to earth for everyone to understand. This is what they do. This is how they motivate you. This is how they inspire you. This is how they make you really excited to listen to what they have to say. So that when you're talking to other people as a leader, you're that person that stands out, that is motivating, inspiring. You're just like, oh, everybody wants to hear what you have to say. So that's what I'm meant to do. Okay, so Sanelli Maluka says, thanks, thumbs up, ma'am, absolutely. Ingrid Joniker, my favorite poet. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that information. That is very, very helpful. So I will keep that in mind as we are going through our lives. And if you ever have a specific quote, I know IXL Multic, we've talked about this before. If you have a quote specifically that that stands out to you, that you want to share as it relates to something related to our topic, feel free to do so. IXL Multic had a really, 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 very good one on one of our lives. It was talking about, happiness and being in a fog, and you don't really know it until you're out of the fog. So it was a very, very, very impactful statement that I know he got it from some poet, more than likely. But it was very, very, very impactful. So if you see something, Sanelli, also in IXL Multic as well, that you feel like would be very insightful for the audience to review and to just look at and learn from, then feel free to share it. As I mentioned, written communication is so incredibly important. it is. And even when we talk about poems, it is still written communication. It's still a form of communication, which is where my expertise lies. All right, so IXL Multi says, what impresses me most is how from dentistry you are immersed in executive leadership catching. Leadership is often in every act, and we who believe ourselves to be followers don't notice it. Yes, exactly. And I appreciate that very kind response, IXL Multic. Thank you so much. And I'm impressed by your level of expertise as well, because we talked about a lot of things in our previous lives. So thank you so much. And I've been in I've had a very unique type of role, I would say, as it relates to my field profession of dentistry, but then being in C-suite also. So I've always been in the two world shuffle, I would say. I have my planet where I'm clinical, but I have my planet where I'm administrative. And I've always been in leadership roles since I was younger. So that leadership has followed me. And one of the questions, I know IXL Multi, you joined a little bit later, but Sanelli Maluka had a really great question that she asked. And the question specifically was about, are leaders born or are they created? Her statement was, leaders are born, not created, or I believe that was what it was. And she said, is this true? And I said, no, leaders are really developed. They're not people. There are people that are out there born to just go for it and lead, but a lot of leaders are created by their experiences that they have. And so I've had some really great experiences over the years that really put me more in the leadership category. Even younger, I did some leadership things, and even when I was in high school, I was vice president of our entire high school. And so I've always been in leadership roles, but I've learned a lot from it. I learned a lot about politics, and I learned a lot about how people can be really, really dirty when it comes to running for positions. And that is a live I probably will share with you all as we go along my journey, so you can learn how I first learned about politics. I never knew anything about politics in my life until I ran for vice president of our school. And that's when I had my very first lesson, taste of what it means to be in politics. And that has carried me for the rest of my life. And so now I know how you have to really be very mindful of how you're communicating, what you're doing, what you're saying, because you do want to present yourself as an executive. So I've taken those lessons from my childhood and have transitioned to me as I've grown into a professional. So I appreciate that. And yes, I've just been in those very high stakes, high pressure situations, which is why I tend to deal with the more complicated, more challenging situations as it relates to communication, because I've just done so many of them that it's just, it becomes, not all situations are easy. Every situation you have to respect, because every dynamic, every situation could be completely different. But I've done so many of these challenging situations that it comes as something that I've practiced and I've perfected over the years. So I appreciate it. And yes, sometimes as followers, we don't really know that we still are leaders. I'm still a follower. I follow many people in terms of what they do. So leaders are followers, followers are leaders, in my very humble opinion, because oftentimes people are following you when you are being the leader, or you may be a follower following someone else and someone's following you. So as you mentioned, ISO Multic, sometimes we don't really even notice it because we have no idea that we are actually followers, but people are actually following us. So very great insight. You always come up with some very, very good, very great statements to make that are very insightful, that make you really just think like, that was really great. I really understood that. That's very, very meaningful. So appreciate that. So IXL Multi says leadership is multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary. I hadn't thought about it. Yes, it is. It's definitely a lot of disciplines that go into it. Just depends on where you are, who you're interacting with, and your field. So this is and I had a very interesting conversation with someone, a colleague earlier today, about just different professions. So there's some professions that throughout the years, and I'll say dentistry specifically, where it is a profession. This is like I think IXL Multi, you may have came in a little bit later in the live, but I talked about, it was actually another video, I'm sorry. I did 2 lives today. So the first live, I talked about why people are stuck in their career. And sometimes people see professions as terminal degrees. Like, this is your profession, this is what you do, and this is what you do the rest of your life. Many years ago, depending on the field you're in, people have these terminal degrees or these terminal positions. Let's say you're a C-suite and that's the end. But with the internet and with just social media and with our perspective as humanity changing in terms of what does it really mean to live that life that we want to live, to have that very positive, upbeat, or the life that we want to create, many people that you see that are in these terminal roles are branching out to do other things. So for instance, a good example that I would mention on this channel would be Ali Abdaal. Ali Abdaal is a medical doctor out of the UK. I don't even know if he practices medicine now, but he is someone that used to practice medicine and now he is on YouTube as one of the top influencers on the platform. And so when you think about leadership, sometimes we have to branch out of what we are comfortable with and what we feel like defines us to go into that next world that may truly be who we are. And I see that happen a lot of times when people are stuck in their careers. And I know this is a separate live I did earlier, but sometimes when people get really stuck in their careers and they're really frustrated about where they are and what they're doing, often there is something that is missing from their purpose. There's a reason why there's that tug where you're just like, I know I can do more, but I'm not doing it. And so that's where that frustration, that kind of rub comes into play. And it is about leadership, and it goes into different disciplines, because sometimes you may be in one discipline, you're interacting with another discipline, and you learn about leadership, or you may be within the same discipline. It just really, really varies. But ultimately, as leaders, we learn from our experiences. And so to go back to Sanelli Maluka's question, as I mentioned earlier, leaders are really created by their experiences. Some of us have had really easy experiences, and some of us have had very hard experiences. And you can tell by the leader and by what they're communicating with you what kind of experiences they've been in. For instance, there's many leaders I've found on YouTube. There's some really great leaders here on YouTube, some amazing leaders here on YouTube. And there's some people that are speaking to you from the academic setting, and I know, and they know they have not been in the trenches, as we say, or they've been in the fire. You can just tell they've been just in the very academic, like, oh, this is a leadership model, and this leadership model has these three parts, this part, this part, and this part. And this is what we do, and this is the hypothesis for it. There are people out there like that. Are they still leaders? Of course. They've been leaders in some shape or form. But then you have people that actually have lived it. So you have your business owners that have actually been through the time where you have no clients and you're working, you're trying to build your business. You have people that have been in leadership roles where you've been in contentious situations, fires happening, dealing with disasters like COVID and things along those lines. Leaders really are created by their experiences. So for those of you watching the replay, just remember, if you ever feel like there is imposter syndrome that comes up, and this comes up a lot in men and women, regardless of roles, but it comes up. Sometimes we kind of feel like, oh, well, I'm a leader, but I'm not really a leader. That's not me. I'm not a leader. But think about the unique experiences that make you very, very special. Everybody has their own unique set of experiences. No one is the same. No person is the same. No person has the same experiences either. So use that to give yourself leverage. So whenever you feel like, as a leader, imposter syndrome comes up, or, ooh, these other people know more than me, and etc., use your experiences and reflect on yourself to determine, oh, wow, I really do have a lot of great expertise in this topic. I know a lot about this, so that you can showcase yourself as that leader. All right, so Sanelli Maluka has a quote for us. Okay, fantastic. So she has a quote for us. It says, study what the market wants. Passion is for the privileged ones. Does it make sense? So study what the market wants. Passion is for the privileged ones. So I would say, yes, you do have to know what is going on in the market. And that could be in your business, that could be in your educational setting, could be a lot, but most of the time when people talk about markets, they're talking about business and revenue. So passion is for the privileged ones. It does. Sometimes it is really, really, really very, very, very insightful. I do believe that it does make sense in terms of what it says, but there's a balance. I believe that you can ultimately find what you really, really are passionate about and be able to fit that into what the market wants. Sometimes you have to modify it though. Sometimes you may say, I want to focus on this, but your market is telling you something a little bit different. So what you have to do is think about it in a way of, well, how can I make both of these work for me, work for the market, so that I'm doing pretty well. So I appreciate you mentioning that. IXO Multic says, with what you have said in this live, I understood. I thought that leaders were born, not made. Yes. So IXO Multic, that's what we were talking about earlier. Personally, I believe leaders, there's a mix of both. So I'm definitely the person that says, well, let's think about this. And I'm not necessarily black, white. There's some situations where you have to be black, white in for sure. But in my just experience working with leaders at higher levels, so I've interacted and worked with congressional leaders here in the United States on many, many, many occasions. Leaders are really made. They are created by their experiences that they have. That is why it's so incredibly important when you are in that leadership role, you have to make sure you are putting yourself in situations where you are engulfing yourself in those experiences, whether they are experiences that are trying to help you elevate or experiences that are helping you to learn a different skill set. Really, life is about experiences. When you really think about it, life is about experiences. Leadership is not any different. It's all about experiences. What experiences have you been in? How have you been a leader? What have you learned on your leadership journey? Life is really about experiences, and leadership is about experiences too. As I mentioned, there are people who are just born to just go at it, and they are just leaders. They are, but there's also leaders out there that are actually created, and they are created by the experiences that they have. And IXO Multic says, wow, Sanelli Maluka, yes. So she has some really great insight. Both of you obviously are interested in poetry. So I really appreciate you bringing your poetic insights here because they're very, very, very insightful. And so I just appreciate you all so much because it's a different form of communication that I don't necessarily talk about a lot in terms of poems. I have knowledge of it, but I appreciate you because it helps to link into the written form of communication that a lot of people do not talk much about. So I appreciate you both so much. All right. So if you all have any other insights, any other things that you want to share with the group, I appreciate it. Let me read them off. So IXO Multi says, Sanelli Maluka, your question is very existential in a world where Francis Fukuyama preached the end of history 33 years ago. So there's a lot of things that obviously go on in the world, and these are very, very important things to think about, especially when you think about passion. What are your passions? Because there's this big question out there that many people ask themselves: what is my purpose in life? What is my purpose? What is my passion? And so finding that balance between the passion and where you are in your career is where really the magic takes place. And so finding that is important. The way you find that, and this is from me speaking to you as an executive coach, is you have to spend time to figure out what makes you happy. What is something that you could talk about all day? What is it? And when you find out what that is, then how can we incorporate that into your life consistently so that you feel like you're living a more fulfilled and balanced life? Now, sometimes there's things, of course, life happens and you may not be able to do everything, but it's still worthwhile for you to be able to really spend some time with yourself. And that's what I do in my executive strategy sessions with my clients, is to really dive deep into what are some of those challenges. How can we create that best version of yourself, that best experience of yourself that people may not necessarily say, to help you on your journey. So I appreciate you all being here. And I mentioned in my previous lives, I have some graphics. There's a couple things I'm going to be showing you all on my post let me know your thoughts, because I'm doing a couple things business-wise, making some pretty large transitions in the business as a whole. Things have been very busy, so I'm doing a bit more visible outreach here locally, and I want to get your thoughts as my audience in terms of what you think about what I'm doing for my local approach, and let me know if you like the graphics or you think I might want to change it or take some things off. Just curious to see what your thoughts are, because you're a part of my journey just as much as I'm a part of your journey as well. So I will be back live next week. I go live Tuesday through Friday, unless something is going on. Typically on Friday afternoons, Friday evenings, I have a little bit more time for lives because I don't have to get up as early with my kids to get them ready for school. So if you have anything you want to go through and talk about, let me know. And this topic we talked about as it relates to, speaking better as a leader, there's a lot of videos here that I would reference on my channel. Definitely Thinking on Your Feet is a good video. Patience in Leadership is a good video based on some of the things we talked about. And tone of voice is very, very important. So if you like this content, tone of voice might be a video you might want to check out. I have a couple of tone of voice videos on my lives, and then just hang in there with me. I will be doing those recorded videos of those leaders that you talked about, and I will send those over to you all so you can take a look at and learn about. All right, so IXO Multi says, I will send you that fragment of Sonnet 11 of Pablo Neruda. Okay, awesome, sure. So yeah, definitely send it over for sure. Send over what you have. When you come on live, I'm typically here. It just depends on the time. And Friday evenings, I have a little bit more time because, as I mentioned, I have more time to spend with my audience. So yes, absolutely be happy to see some of that information that you have, and appreciate really everyone for joining live today. And a special appreciation goes to we had Free Shalep had a couple comments. Baby Nana Cooking had a few things. And then, of course, IXO Multic and Sanelli Maluka really had some really great insights to share that many people will learn a lot from. And I want to know from you in the comments, what was your favorite part about the live? I know this is for the replay audience. Let me know what you like. What are some things you want to modify? The lives, especially at the end of the live, is an opportunity for us to talk about things that are a bit different outside of the wonderful world of leadership and communication that I would love to talk about all day. But it gives you an opportunity for me to get to know you and you to get to learn more about me. And so absolutely let me know if there's anything else that you all want to talk about. So I'm looking forward to seeing you all in the next videos. Feel free to check out some of my lives and subscribe. If you have not subscribed already, what are you waiting for? We talk about really great things here, and it's only going to get even better because the channel is growing quite a bit. We actually are very close to 500 subscribers. That is a huge milestone for me in this channel. So we're really close to 500 subscribers. Really looking forward to just engaging with each and every one of you on the lives or via comments and etc. A lot of great things are going to happen on the channel here by the end of the year. I will keep you all updated on how things go. But I'll see you in the next video, and I appreciate you all so much for your support and being present here on the lives. And I hope you all have an amazing, amazing weekend. Bye for now.